Hi, good evening, and welcome back after our long break. Okay, we're here now. We should have our QuickBooks open to the home page. So let's share the screen. So this is our new homepage enlarged. You'll notice we've covered most of the vendor section. On the top, we've we've done we didn't do purchase orders, but we received inventory. We entered bills against inventory received, and we've also done the enter bills and inventory at the same time. We, which was enter bills, we also paid bills. We did not do the sales and orders and estimates, but we created invoices and we received payments. We are now down by the employees section, which is now enabled. You'll have your 5 icons on the bottom. One is called enter time. That probably would have been there anyway. But the pay employees, pay liabilities are added features when you enable payroll, and process payroll forms is an added feature on top of the basic payroll, which is the enhanced. And otherwise, the rest of the homepage is the same. We have the chart of accounts, which is the company. You could get there also from Control A. We also have inventory activities. So if you ask where do you get in the homepage, inventory, it's part of the company. You can receive inventory, but from vendors, but inventory activities are in the company. So what we have here in the syllabus that we sent out is that we should just take note of the fact prior to the payroll that the P&L for 2020 is 2510 on the service income, or 3165 and 25 cents. So we're going to also refresh how to make a report. We go to reports, we go down to company and financial, and we go to the first section. The first section is the profit and different types of profits and losses. It's all related to income and expenses, which we said also affects owner's equity. These are all the temporary accounts. The second section is the balance sheet. Those are the permanent accounts. That gives you a snapshot of what's in the bank, what's the permanent equity of the members of the company, what is the liabilities, the people outside the company. The third section we're going to get to in a later class, it's called statement of cash flows. That's showing not necessarily the profit and loss, but how the money moves through the company, coming in and out. So if we make a profit and loss standard, which doesn't give us all the details, gives a general, and we press Y, because we are actually not Y here, but we go to the next step, from, and we press Y. Y is a shortcut to go to the beginning of the year. And you'll see right now that what do we have? We have our total merchandise is income is 655. Also, we have the service income is 2510. If we add the merchandise, again, the merchandise is made up of two types. We have Megillas Rus, we have Tikkun Shuas. If we add the total merchandise, 655, to the service, we are going to have income of 3165. Why am I pointing this out? Because as we do payroll, we're going to do two types of payroll. One payroll is going to be paying a worker of a company, which we call, the people that drag down the company. They're not producing income, but they're going to take money anyway. And then there's people that are doing a service for a client. So we have a markup. So we will do a payroll which is tied to a service. So the income will increase with that service, and we will see as we go along. So the first thing we have to do now that we took note of the P&L, we could keep it open. We will go to Employee Center. So Employee on the drop-down menu and Employee Center. I'm going to do the first three steps, and then I'm going to pause because the first three steps are really filling out information about the employee. So you can do it along as after I do it. So I'm going to go to employees, employee center, and you can watch how we're doing it. It's going to bring up a screen. And this is similar to the same screen we have if we have to make a new customer, a new vendor, right? If we actually just let's close this thing here. Second here. Somehow I toggled the wrong place. Okay, employee center. And what we're going to do is we're going to press, if you will do new employee. And here, this we're going to fill out step, everything about the employee. First of all, his name is personal, right? Here, you don't, now this, if you remember by vendors and by customers, there's a top row over here, which is like a nickname. That's what you call, you refer to the person in your company. But then there's the legal name, which you put lower down, which will be printed on a check if you paid to a vendor or what you would expect the customer to be, in the bill to address and the formal way, the formal way you would want your information to come to him as opposed to your nickname of the company. So, and employees, they don't even bother with that option because everything is going to be official. The employee is going to have a name, he's going to have a social, he has to have a date of birth. You can't have employees without socials. Um, you will probably need to get an I-9 from that employee when he registers for work to prove that he is um, suitable for working. He's legal. But that is beyond the scope of QuickBooks. What QuickBooks wants to know is what's his name. His name we're going to put in Pinchas. His last name is Tadris. And this is how it's going to show print on checks with Pinchas Tadris, right? There's no reason why it shouldn't. If I wanted to have Mr., you could put Mr. as a title, but you don't necessarily have to have on the checks the Mr., right? So by default, the first name and the last name will come up on the check, but you can put in your note over here, is he a Mr. or Miss or Doctor or a Sir or any other title you want to give him. We have a social security number. We put in here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I can assume we're not copying anyone. We put over here, we'll put the gender male. It's not on the syllabus. Usually today's companies, you can't always ask them. And we have here date of birth. Date of birth is January 1 of 1970. So you go 010170. What else do we have to put in? So now we're ready in the end. We already did steps 1 and step 2. We're going to skip over marital status. Obviously, he's be a U.S. citizen. Basically, you could press yes. We'll skip over disability. If you notice here, it mentions an I-9 form. The human resources have to keep track if you have the I-9 form in the file, yes or no. If you don't have it, you have to make sure that you get it. The same thing is the work authorization. Just because he's legal today doesn't mean he's permanently legal. He might be here on a work visa and he only has a limited time. So you, in your company, you don't want to be caught off guard. So this is the digital way where you keep information in the company about the employee. You have a whole index card. You have a bunch of tabs here. And in these tabs, we put in different information regarding the employee. So we have his first and last name. We have his social. We have his date of birth. We'll assume that we have an I-9 on file and there's a U.S. citizen. That's the end of the personal tab here. We're going to go over to the address. The address is 617 6th Street. I think Street. Okay, Lakewood, New Jersey. We put it over here. For those who are interested in a bit of trivia, anyone could pop in on the Q&A if they think they know who this Pinchas Tadris in Lakewood is, what does he do for a living, where does he live, and what did you get from the description so far? Okay. I'm going to take a pause over here. I'm going to let you catch up to do steps 1, 2, and 3. Again, we go to employees, employee center. And what you'll be doing is you'll be creating a new, I'm going to press save and close first of all, or I could press OK. And we'll leave as is for now. They're asking if you want to set up information for federal tax and state tax or local taxes. Actually, yeah, you could. Okay, we'll leave as is for now. And now we have a new employee called Pinchas Tadris. Okay, I'm going to give about 2-3 minutes. I think there'll be enough time to go to employees, employee center, which I am in right now, and press new employee. Most likely, if you go Control N, which means new, will bring you up that same screen as well. Okay, if we could perhaps get a little raise of hands if anyone filled out the employee information, will be helpful. Okay, so I see you have 2 or 3 people. Okay, we'll give another minute or so. So Did anyone want to venture to guess what is the identity of Pinchas, where Pinchas Tadros lives? You could put it on the Q&A. So it actually happens to be not sure what that is. Well, 617 6th Street in Lakewood happens to be the address of Beis Medrash Gevaya. So we're going to assume that the person is living in the Kailo there and he is giving his address there. That's where he's getting his mail. He's 50 years old because he was born in 1970. So chances are he is married. If you would put that in the employee information. Right now, after we have the employee, we're gonna have to go to the edit button. We have here on the right upper side of the screen, there's like a pencil next to the next to the note pin, and there we will edit Pinchas Tadros because now we have to decide what type of money he'll be getting. We just have his name and address and his date of birth. So we're gonna go down to another tab. The next tab, okay, no additional info. Payroll info. So we wrote here that we're going to make now a payroll called biweekly. The company will issue checks biweekly, and he will get paid every 2 weeks, whatever he earned in that period. That doesn't mean he will be getting a check every week because he might be a part-time worker who only works when he has time available. But he will be put into the biweekly, and that's the default pay frequency is biweekly. And we could call the schedule. We'll give the payroll schedule a name, and we'll just call it biweekly. Okay. And what is the pay period end date? So we have to make sure we said his higher. I said here in step 5 that his higher date is 5/22. 5/22, 2010, 2020. So that was a Friday. So the pay period, let's say, will end on the 29th, which is the following week. Second. Actually, we'll put it in for the 5th of June. We'll explain why in a minute. Okay, so the pay period will be ending. Pay period end date is 06/05/20. What date should appear on the checks? So that's a check of the date finishes. Pay period finishes 6/5, and we'll do 6/5. Different companies have different days of the week that they pay. Some people have a lapse. The pay period ends on Friday on June 5th. So they will have checks going out on Monday or Tuesday on the following week. So they have time to process all the time cards at the same, or alternatively, if they want to pay on Fridays, they will count all the time cards that are through the previous Friday. So they'll have a week lag. So regardless, we're going to have the pay period on June 5th, and I'm going to press OK. So we have here biweekly is the name. That's what I put in. How often was already there. I didn't touch the biweekly. I just put in the pay period end date is 6/5, and the date will be 6/5. The next paycheck date is earlier than today. Are you sure this is correct? Yeah, because they know we're now in December. They wonder why I'm doing June checks. But for now, we will do that. Don't press OK. Would you like QuickBooks Desktop to assign this payroll scheduled to all employees with a biweekly pay frequency. Yes, we're gonna create 3 employees, and 2 of them will be on the biweekly payroll, and 1 will be on the weekly payroll. So we have here, okay, we have 1 employee is assigned to the biweekly payroll schedule. And what other information do we have to put in over here? This wasn't in on the syllabus, but you have to go, if you go to taxes, we're going to change this filing status from single to married. And that's it. State work is not selected. So we will select the state in a moment. So you press the change button, and then it'll give you the option, state worked and state subject to withholding. So we know that he is actually in New Jersey, right? So we're going to select the state of New Jersey. He's in Lakewood. So that is where he's working. And the state subject withholding, for now, we'll also put it in New Jersey as well. So now some of these things, QuickBooks will prompt you as you go from one step to the next. So now that we put in the state for working and withholding to New Jersey, it's going to create a New Jersey withholding liability account. The way it works is, let's say, for example, someone's going to get a check of $500, and we use round numbers for illustration, and we have to withhold $50 from his check. So we are going to remove from his check $50, and we're going to owe it to the New Jersey. We don't keep the money. We are becoming the trustee of the state to forward the withholdings to them. So the full payroll expense, let's say, will be the whole $500. The way it's going to work is you're going to credit cash $450, and you'll be crediting a liability of $50 because it's not paid yet until you pay it. So that's actually what the debits and credits will be. You have payroll expense, debit, $500. It's actually more than that because, as we're going to discuss, the company has to add payroll taxes to match the employee's withholding. But for right now, you would have a payroll expense. So you would have a payroll expense of $500, and you would have which we don't do it, but it's really a debit of $500. And when you write the check out to the person, he gets the credit, the $450 credit cash, and $50 is liability. If the company has to add $50, will be additional $50 payroll expense, and will be an additional liability of $50. So let's set up New Jersey Withholding. We'll press the name of the agency to which liability is paid. So here's where obviously it's not one of our current vendors. We're not paying Amazon the liability of payroll. So you could just put in, for example, New Jersey Department of Taxation. This is for illustration purposes. It might be the actual name or close to it. And we'll do a quick add. Now there are companies that have like unemployment registration numbers. So there are numbers that the agency has for you. We'll also put in the blank. We have here the company's ID. I think is 1134567889. So have the real INN, but this is a number we should put in. And you see here, what's the liability account called? Payroll liabilities. And it tells you this tracks the withholding liability to be paid. And you can change the name. This is the new chart of accounts. After I press next and save it, you can go to the chart of accounts. You'll see now a new account called payroll liabilities. And we will finish. We'll press finish. Now it's going to let us do a payment to the payroll item. So if you notice, QuickBooks will not let you pay an employee until you first set up who is going to get the withholding taxes. Now, he might live in a state like Florida where there's no state withholding, which is fine. But that's what they ask you. Which state is he, which is as an employee, where does he live, where he's doing the work for? He could live in New Jersey and do work for a company in New York, but he's living in New Jersey and he's going to pay New Jersey taxes. And federal taxes, they don't ask you because that's all the same all over. So now I'm going to press OK. And just like federal has its, 1 second. Okay, just like federal has its allowances or withholdings, same thing as the state has its withholdings and allowances. And they hold back state unemployment insurance, state disability insurance, that's SUI, and we're not going to change this. We're just going to say okay. And they're going to tell you again, just like there's a New Jersey withholding we finished with, it's going to have a New Jersey unemployment for the SUI, and then it's going to also set up an account for disability. So we're going to leave it, whatever they tell us, we're going to leave for now, New Jersey Unemployment Company. And we'll have NJ, Department of Taxation. I'm not going to, we'll just put that in there and press. So it's coming out of payroll expenses. So the debit is payroll expenses, the credit is payroll liabilities. And finished. Now, like I warned you, that's going to want to set you up. The same thing for disability. It's walking you through these, where we started with withholdings. That was the first step. The second step was unemployment. And the last step is disability. And it's going to give you the same default names, which we'll keep. Disability company, because the company, basically what happens here, the company pays state disability, and then we also have employee paid state disability, the two parts. You'll notice in box 14 of your W-2, which you're going to get in a couple of weeks, you will have withholdings from unemployment insurance and disability, but the company is also adding money for that as well. So we're going to again press the New Jersey Department of Taxation and press next, and payroll expenses and next, whatever they want just to get out of here. Okay. Finally, so now they want to know if we have, in addition to unemployment insurance and disability insurance, there's also family leave insurance and healthcare subsidy employer and healthcare subsidy company, employee and company. Right? Just have here, people think it's very simple. They just come to work for a company and they want their check. The company has to set up many accounts and pay many types of taxes. And as much as the employee feels bad that he earns $500 and he's only walking home with a smaller check, they have to keep in mind that the company is also paying more than what he's earning. That means he thinks he's getting $500 and someone's stealing from him $550. Well, the company thinks they're paying someone $500 and they really end up paying $550. Actually, the company pays more in added taxes than what's withheld from the employee, because the company also has to pay workers' comp insurance, disability insurance. Those are not things which are coming off the employee. Okay, I'm just getting out of this. Okay, I'm going to pause over here and see if anyone can make it out of that. Again, we went into taxes, right? Payroll info, taxes, and we went through 3 sections. We went through the federal tab. Federal tab is very simple. We put 2019. All we did was change to married. We pressed OK, and it bothered us to select the payroll liabilities account. We went to state tab. So first it popped up. Right now it says New Jersey, but before we put in New Jersey, it popped up a screen asking us to select the state for working and withholding. After we got it out of that, it popped up another screen telling us to set up unemployment. Then it popped up another screen asking us to set up disability. This is all done once for each, for each state. So if we add another company, another employee, and we tell them he's in New Jersey, they're not going to ask us again who's the state withholding and setting up those accounts for unemployment and disability, because we already created our New Jersey withholding accounts. It's only if we put a new employee from New York, then it's going to ask us, for example, if we have a branch in New York, an employee is in New York, then they will ask us, okay, so who is the payee for the New York's withholding taxes? There are some employees that are dual. That means they have taxes that they have to pay to both states, and you always pay the higher amount. And you get a credit for what you pay to add a state. Sometimes if you work in one state, it'll be $4,000 withholdings, but you paid at a state $3,000, so then you only have to pay $1,000 to your own state, which we'll get to. It's a topic not for this, for at least just setting up the payroll. Let me see. Look at the Q&A. How do I skip to 1970? Okay. How to skip? I guess this is back to the question. Well, when we're in the personal tab and date of birth, you go 0101 and you put 70. Or you put in 0101 1970, and you don't have to open a calendar and go back by year, or by month. So all you'll do is you go 0101 70, and they assume we're not in 2070 yet, so it's 1970. So that should answer that question. Secondary QuickBooks file. That's good. Okay, so payroll has to be in the primary QuickBooks file, so you'll have to close out your other file and go. And when you close out your primary file, automatically the secondary becomes primary. Okay, someone asked me, why is he single in state tax and married in federal? So we can adjust that where we pay the taxes. We had here married in state. We say single. Okay, so we'll change it to married, and it's already called civil union. And the federal, they don't call it civil union. They call married or married using single rate. That's an option. Some people use a single rate because they want, it's like a savings account. If they get the full check, they'll spend it. So you know what? I'm married, but give me the single rate and charge me more taxes. At the end of the year, I'll get a big refund and I could go on vacation. That's some people might do that. Okay, so thanks for pointing that out. So you have two QuickBooks. You're going to use now the QuickBooks file that I sent you. You could look back and take a peek at your old one, but we're working with this current new file. Okay. So the pay period date we said will be June 5. That's Friday, June 5. Just to note, he was hired 5/22 on, that's what we said. 5/22 was a Friday. We decided to hire him. The following week, so Thursday was Erev Shavuos, Friday was Shavuos, and Shabbos was a second day Shavuos. So if he was doing 5 days of work, he'll be working 1 day on Friday and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Or he could work Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday if he doesn't, and Thursday, which is Erev Shavuos. However you want. What's the pay period date? Okay, so that's June 5th. What did I say about expense account? I said you could take the defaults that QuickBooks throws at you. You could get away without putting a number to the agency. I just put in a random number of 11-3456789, but you don't even need that number. Usually that number will be your employer registration number. That means you have, the way it works is when you sign up for, you want to do it, you can't just decide, okay, I'm paying people. You have to open up a workers' comp account, insurance account. You have to get an employer registration number. So when you that identifies your company to the state, and they will open up for you an unemployment insurance account, which everyone's been maxing out in the past year. And the state, you could you do that online. You get an employee registration number. Okay, so back to, we have here, I'm going to go down the tabs. Okay, so we have here the personal information. We have to open address 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Date of birth is male. Over here, I didn't actually put marital status. You see, I could do it over here, but was Negea only in the next further down by the taxes. Address and context, we put his address 617 6th Street in Lakewood. I didn't put any additional info because he might have an employee ID. You know, you have 1,000 employees, a big company, and you want to differentiate people by number, and you have a fingerprint check-in registration, and you want to see who is this employee. You can have a billing rate level, which we'll get to momentarily. Payroll information. We said we're sticking with biweekly, and that's the name. So we're not going to change right now the way that this employee is paid. He's paid biweekly. You could change his schedule by adding a new schedule. We went into taxes, and taxes is where you edit the federal, the state, and other information. Okay, so the federal doesn't ask you. It's a standard. It doesn't ask you. It will ask you. Will give you a probably. I think it gave you a choice of which account you're going to use. If it's payroll liability, payroll liability is where the withholding goes to, and payroll expenses is where the expense goes out of. I'll show you soon the chart of accounts where you see those two new accounts. We have state. We picked New Jersey, and we had to go through 3 steps. First of all, to choose a state, that was a pop-up that we got after we finished with federal. We went through the federal, we pressed like okay or finished or next, whatever that button was, and it pops up, okay, now choose a state. And we chose both of them as New Jersey. Then we went on to the next step, which was to call it New Jersey Withholdings. What's the name of the company? The agency that will receive the money, we called it New Jersey Department of Taxation. After we pressed finish or next, we had to do the exact same thing for SUI and SDI. And finally, it brought up one more page, which was related to all these employee companies, which is family paid leave, etc. So a workers' fund. Okay, now we get about to go to employers info, employment info. That's the next tab. Before that, let me finish the questions here. I already said you can't do payroll in a secondary QuickBooks file. So close the primary and stay in this one. Okay, fine. We X out all the questions. Now employee info, hire date is 0522. Great. What's the difference between the original hire date and the hire date? Perhaps that he was hired and fired or left and he came back, and you keep information. He's a regular employer. He's not an officer. He's not an owner. This is his Pinchas Tadris. He's in yeshiva. Our company is called We Do It All. He's going to be a part-time worker. Okay, so we have a regular, part-time. We don't have to choose seasonal, so or you could choose no. It's on his mood. It's not the season. We're open for business, and we're going to soon see in step number 4. We did the first line of step number 4. We did his payroll frequency, but we didn't create the payroll item that he does. He's a web designer, and he's going to earn $40 an hour. And we know already from our previous items that we bill it out at 75, so we will have a $35 gross profit based on that. Is not exempt. Is he a key employee? We shall see. So we can leave these two open. If you have in the company, he might have a title as a foreman, supervisor, or etc. And you can have a supervisor that works over me. You can list his supervisor, which is obviously not another employee. There's no other employees. And you could put, he has a department, but right now we're small time. So all we did here is put hire date 5/22. We have a regular employment as a part-time. Okay, obviously there's tabs for termination, which we're not terminating him yet. Here we're just getting started with him. We're not deciding if he gets paid leave. These are all very detailed information which come out on the check. We put in 4 pieces of information: date of hire, and that's actually the only thing that's most necessary. But we also put in regular part-time. And last but not least, workers' comp has to have a code. It means in workers' comp, they assign different risk levels for different types of employees. So the lowest risk level is as a clerical worker behind the desk. So it's like you're buying an insurance if they get injured on the job. But if he's driving a forklift and he's working in the warehouse and he's a much bigger, greater chance of getting injured, so then we will be paying a higher insurance for workers' comp. But we're going to leave that blank for now. And we're going to press OK. Let's see if any more questions of these two. The liability account is called payroll liabilities. I believe I gave you that default. That's for Moshe. Okay. Again, I'm not sure what this page is. So if you could, if Pete could explain what this page is, I could tell you. We go to employee center. That's where we are right now. If we press the edit button on the employee, which is here, then we get to the whole tab, which that tab will come up under every employee. Will have their own tab because every employee could have different dates of birth and different tax information, etc. And now we're going to see if we could create a payroll item. Let's see here. Okay, now we're going to go back to the payroll info. And remember we said we had, okay, so it's not under additional info, it's on the payroll info. So we got to look where it says step 4 additional info. It's actually the payroll info tab where it says biweekly. And we did all the taxes information, right? Now we could go down to item name and create, it's called PRH. What does PRH stand for? So this is short for PR for payroll and H for hourly or by unit. And we're going to set up what's called hourly wages, right? We're going to do annual salary. That's going to be someone else. But right now we're having hourly wages. and it's regular pay. We already went through that. We discussed that this is regular pay. It's not vacation. It's not sick. It's not overtime. PRH will be regular pay, and PRH is the name that I already chose. So I'm not sure why they're asking again. And again, we know the count for this expense is payroll expenses. That's true for when we set up the general payroll. It asks us payroll expenses, and each individual expense account is also still going to ask us if we wanted to stay at payroll expenses. Press finish. And we have to put in the rate. The rate needs to be put in as 40. Let's see, where is... let's go back in a second. Payroll info, PRH. I think you have to press. Okay, so if I think you have to click the. It's not that. It's not that. Second. Well, now it is coming through. I guess snag. Okay, PRH, the hourly rate is $40 because we set it up as hourly wages. If we would have had the annual wage, we could have put in, let's say, 40,000 or 50,000 or whatever it is. So this is the end of item 4 is we have PRH, and the rate, we have to enter 40. Okay, so if it didn't work the first time, X out and come back in, but it should work for you. PRH is 40. And we're about to create a timesheet for Pinchas Tadris so you can start earning money. Let's see if anyone else has any questions. Yeah, one more time for those who thought that went by too fast. We go into Pinchas Tadris, we go to the payroll info tab. And under biweekly, we're going to create a PRH, and it's going to ask us 4 questions. When we already know the same thing works with anything we add in QuickBooks. You can either directly go to add new, and it'll ask you what you want to do, hourly, annual, or commission. Or as I did before, is that I type in a name which is not there yet. When I press tab, it will bring me up that same question. So, and we went to the next step. If you would, after hourly wages, it would say is it regular or overtime, and next, and it's going to ask you for a name before pre-filled the PRH because I already had typed it in. And obviously, you'll press next, and you'll press finish, and you will be good to come back and press your rate to $40. Okay, so I'm going to wait another minute to give people a chance to create the item PRH and to go through the hourly question, the regular rate, and confirm that the name is PRH, and to finish, come back and put the rate at 40. Now, obviously, if you go to a check to pay an employee, if he worked for 5 units, he earns $200. He could fill out a timesheet. That's actually what this check is in the corner on the left, bottom left is: use time data to create paychecks. That means when you come to the end of a time period, it's going to use a timesheet that's going to keep track of how much work, how many units Pinchas Tadris did. And based on those units, he will get his paycheck. One important factor to keep in mind, and we're going to point this out again when we actually do it, is the employee earns the money when he works. The money for the company is only earned when you create the invoice. So if the company, if we enter a timesheet for Pinchas Tadris, it's true that if he does 5 hours for $40, he's gonna get $200. The company earned $375. They earned $35 times 5. They earned actually $175 profit. But it's not going to show up on the P&L, the $375, in the accrual method, right? In cash, invoice means nothing. But in the accrual method, when you actually create an invoice for the customer, which will be some Ploni Almoni, that is when the company will recognize the extra $375 of income. However, when we create the check for the employee because he made his timesheet, he's already entitled to his $200. Okay, so I put down over here. Let's see here. Do we have a question finally? No, okay, so we actually sent 11 to 35. That was the numbering system, 11 to 35. We didn't send out 1 to 10. We did questions previously in classes. Please stick to the subject. It's a little distracting. The pop out the side. Okay. Okay. You mentioned before April. Yeah. So here it says that we're working from 524 to 529. If actually he can't work from 524 to 529, so you'll either change it. In the timesheet, we're going to enter it from. Well, actually, yeah, it's to 528 because we need 5 days. So you have 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. So he worked from Sunday through Thursday. Or you could say he was hired on the Friday at 522 and he does not work on the Shavuos. So you could put a timesheet. Let's stick to one system. We're going to assume that he's working 524 to 528. It's 1 hour a day, and he got up early on the Shavuos and he billed an hour. So we're going to use, now where do we get the timesheet? Okay, so again, I'm clicking right now, this checkbox, use time data to create paychecks. So now we finally have an employee. We have his tax information. We have his hire date. And we are about to go to the timesheet to create work. Where do we have that? Again, in the drop-down for the employee, enter time and use weekly timesheet. Again, employees, enter time, use weekly timesheets. And we're going to go back. Now here you will go back on the calendar. I'm going to go back to 524. Now, QuickBooks by default has the week going from Monday to Sunday. So you could put in, okay, so we have here Pinchas Tadris, And it's the week of May 28th to May 24. So that's when we pick up our Sunday. We're going to put in the customer job, Ploni Amoni. What you got to do is P, just put in the P, and you see QuickBooks assumes it's Ploni Amoni, and that's why only the P was typed. Everything else is autofill. Autofill is with the blue text. But I could keep on typing because maybe I have two people that start with P. I could have Ploni Amoni, and I could have Potato Head. So I might go PO and Potato Head pop up, but there's no Potato Head. Or if I would do P and add Paul, PA would come first, and I'll go PL, and then Ploni Amoni will come. Either way, Ploni Amoni is the customer. So we're associating right now that the work that Pinchas Tadros is doing, Ploni Amoni, he wants to get himself started. He was undercover until now. He had no name. That's actually what Ploni Amoni is. He has no name. But, and interestingly enough, this time period is Shua's time, and Ploni Amoni is actually mentioned in the Megillah. So he wants to come and make a website. And his service item is going to be WD. That is the item that we have, right? We could offer him housekeeping. We could offer him, I can offer him MR or TLS, remember? This is the differentiation. It's items that we have in our list. Those are merchandise items, are MR and TLS. I could offer him general consulting. Those are service items. In this case, we say we're doing WD. And we know the PRH is the payroll item. This is how we link the two. For every hour that Pinchas Tadros does PRH, which costs the company $40, right? We could decide it's possible that he's going to service the WD, in which case we make money. It's possible that the payroll hourly is going to give general consulting, which means we make even more money. But if Pinchas Tadros was doing bookkeeping for us, which we bill out at $30, we're losing because he's going to cost us $40, and our service WD is only going to earn us $30, let alone housekeeping, which was $20. But that's why Pinchas Tadros is someone who gets paid $40. We could only bill him out for things which are almost double his pay. If we want to service out WD items, right? Housekeeping or bookkeeping, we'll have to have payroll items or units that cost us less than $40. I'm not going to put any notes. All I'm going to do is I'm going to put in one. One is one unit. Actually, I put it one. Okay, so we have, and is it billable? Yes, it is billable. But billable only means we could create an invoice. Doesn't mean the invoice is there. And what are we doing now? We're going to save and new. So we made this timesheet here. Again, we went in the calendar. How did you go there? We went employees, enter time, use weekly timesheet. I'm going to wait a second, give everyone a chance, because I want to just get through these two timesheets we have to make. One timesheet for the Sunday, and that is captured in the week from May 18 to May 24. And then we're going to create a second timesheet, which is going to be from the week of 5/25 and on. And we're going to get 4 more days there for the 25, 26, 27, 28. So I'm going to stay here for a second. Make sure your screen matches. Obviously, the employee is only one, so there's no other option. It's a default because we're going to employee timesheet. Well, you could go to drop down and see other names, but it's not going to come up as an employee. You put a vendor here, you probably get an error code. Customer is Ploni Amoni. It could be many customers. It shows you only your customers. And your service item is WD, payroll is PRH, and Sunday we put in 1 hour. Okay, so I'm checking off that we did number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and we are about to complete step number 5. We're going to see if we can make it to number 7 through number 7. You see any questions here? Okay, if you don't have payroll item, it means we did not create the payroll item. That was step number 4. Step number 4, part 2 says create payroll item PRH, and the rate will be $40. So you have to go back and create that item. Who is Ploni Almoni? Ploni Almoni is our customer, and Tadris is our employee, and that is what's going to happen. Our employee, Pinchas Tadris, is giving us a timesheet for work, as opposed to having an employee just comes in and sits in the office and gives us, okay, I worked for 5 hours. What did you do? I don't know what you did. So all I do is I'm going to pay you, but I can't bill anyone for it. A timesheet is that the employee comes here and he keeps track of his time for the work. So I did an hour of work. What did you do? Oh, I did web design for Ploni Almoni. No problem. So thank you very much. You're going to make 40 and I'm going to bill out for 75. And then he's going to come back next week and give us another timesheet, which we're going to right now, save and new. Since we have currently May 18 to May 24, probably the new timesheet, again, if we go down to here, you could have multiple names in the timesheet. You could have mixed, but right now we're only going to have Pinchas Tadris, and we're going to make a new timesheet for the following week, 25. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do PL for Ploni Almoni. We'll do service item is WD. PRH is by default because there is only one payroll item. So that's why PRH comes in. Service item, they don't know. There are 4 service items, right? Sounds familiar? This is your drop down from. I'm going to answer the question in a second. I'm going to put in 1 for Monday, 1 for Tuesday, 1 for Wednesday, 1 for Thursday. And the total is 4 hours billable. I'm going to leave it open for people to copy this. And again, what do? We go to the calendar button. And before we were from 8 to 24. We were highlighted in the 18, right? And the 18 obviously is only 1 hour. We did that already. Now we're going to go to highlight 25. And we have the week of 5/25 to 5/31. I'm going to pop in number 1 by each of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and make sure it's still Ploni Almoni, WD, and PRH. And let's see here. Okay, thank you, Moshe, for creating the item. Shimon, you have to create the item of PRH. Theoretically, you could create it over here now also, by the way, because it's add new. So you could create PRH in this window. You don't have to go anywhere else. Isn't that cool? Okay, let's see. Dov, you have a question? Try to see if we can handle this here.
No.
Hello?
No. Everything fine.
Okay, I see hand is raised. Okay, fine.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Okay, let's. In just a few minutes, 15 minutes, we'll be opening up Q&A. In general, if there's something quick question you have right now regarding the step, which we're in the middle of right now. Phil have a question? Does Phil have a question? Okay, we'll go ask the next person here. Shimon have a question?
Yes, for some reason I don't have the column payroll item.
You don't know which one you don't have?
On the timesheet, the payroll item column, I don't have. Customer job, service item, notes.
Customer job, service item, payroll item. Just in a second. Let me save. Okay, you know what? So stick around after 9:30. We'll try to take a look into that. Okay, let's keep track of this. All right,
Okay.
no problem. Um, okay, so let me see here again. If we would, right now we hired him in 522. That was step 25. We created a timesheet. So the timesheet is okay. So the second half of 5 is goes with 6. We created a timesheet. Pick touches an employee doing a job at plenty of money. What did he do? It says he works 1 hour a day for plenty of money, and he does PRH. He does WD. Okay, now if you recall, last time I showed you, there's what's called income tracker and expense tracker. By vendors, you have bill tracker. By customers, you have what's called income tracker. Let's take a second look at the income tracker here. We see here you have plenty of money. This is time and expense, right? As opposed to all the invoices, which are already there, right? We already billed everyone else who received payments and our income. Plenty of money doesn't show up. There's no due date. We have no date to expect his money because we didn't invoice him yet, right? Some people, it's an open bill because, and what we will get, we'll get 375, right? That's the amount, but there's no date of the bill and there's no due date when to receive it. The assumption is that we have, our customers have to pay us the same day, right? We make a bill on 11/20, 11/4, and the assumption is it's due upon service. Our default to pay vendors is 10 days, if you recall. Now, we go back to our P&L, which is still open. Remember, we said the step 1 in the beginning of the class. We're in the cash method, 2510 for service. That's still true today, even we're in December, and we went back to May. We have no more income. We have in the income tracker 375 potentially coming to us, but there is no invoice. There is no date because there's no invoice, and because there's no invoice, there is no income. Now let's look a second at the P&L. We don't have yet what's it called? The payroll expense doesn't show up automatically. We have to create a check, but we could still create a check, and the employee is entitled to his money based on his timesheet, but that doesn't bring us our income. The only way to bring us our income is we actually go to the next step in the income tracker, which is do an action. And the action is create invoice. Right, so what does step 7 again say? Go to income tracker, note that plenty of money is billable for 375. There's no date to do expected payment. It was not billed, and because it's not billed, I said go to step 8. It's very this is just information. It's not a step you have to do. So 7 and 8, you're reading. We're taking note that we can get 375, but step 8 tells us the sales income didn't change. Actually, here it's actually service income didn't change. It's still the same amount because QuickBooks tracks income only upon invoicing. Okay, so I'm going to answer some questions, and okay, we might not do step 9. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to convert this 375 into a partial invoice. We're going to bill 300 of it, I'll leave 75 unbilled. Not because Polonium at Pinchas Tadas didn't work all 5 hours. He did. He worked all 5 hours, and we want to get paid by our customers for all 5 hours. But it's just a way of, again, tracking how the bill tracker works. It's a technicality, but I'm going to put that in pause and see what the questions are in the Q&A first. And then I'll look at the quick questions on the chat. Let's see, how do you put an hour by other day as well? You type in the number 1 by each day. That's for going back to Nayach. Does the employer always have to manually put in the dates? Well, it's not actually the employer. It could be the secretary in the office, the payroll, the one who keeps track of payroll. You might be at a company. I just saw people are advertising. They're looking for a payroll manager for a company, and they're showing in the 6 digits. And obviously, they want experience, so it takes time. But you have to know your way around. And not necessarily you will actually use QuickBooks. You might not. But the rules are the same. We're gonna learn. So when we create our first check, we're gonna for payroll, we're gonna learn how much tax is being kept behind from the employee's check and how much the company is adding. So that's regarding that. Okay, so they don't have payroll item. We're gonna do that in 10 minutes. Let's see here. I'll try Phil one more time. Phil, you had a question? Going once, going twice. Second. Okay, P has a question. Hello?
You hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, do you hear me? I
Hello?
hear you.
Do you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Hello?
Okay,
Hello?
I'm gonna mute and try again.
Hello?
Yeah, you hear me?
You hear me?
Yeah,
Hello?
I hear you.
Hello?
I don't know if you hear the whole class, you should be able to hear me now.
You hear me?
Yes, I do.
Hello?
Hello? I don't know
Hello?
what,
Do you
I
hear me?
don't, yes, I do.
Oh, okay, fine. I just wanted to know, let's say back to this Todros guy.
Yeah.
Is there a way of checking all the timesheets that he has? Because I want to make sure that I didn't make, I kept on redoing it because it wasn't going. I want to make sure that I didn't make him too many timesheets.
Yeah, but I mean, you go into these reports. You could go reports and put. We'll get to that. Right now, I'm going through the act of creating a timesheet. We create a timesheet. Let's see when we go to do a check, and we'll see what timesheets are out there. We'll see the pay that we do to him will be based on his timesheets. He has 5 hours now. One from the timesheet of 18 through 20, starting from the week starting the 18th. He did on the Sunday, which is the 24th. Then he has one the week starting on the 25, and he has 5, 6, 7, 8. Those 4 days.
Right.
Each day at 1 hour.
Right. I just want to make sure I kept on.
Okay, so we'll see when we do the check. We'll see if
Yeah,
it's bringing
okay,
up
fine.
more yet.
Okay.
Sure. Okay. Sure.
Can you again re-explain again what is Ploni Almoni doing and what is Todros? Like, in other words,
But what is
we do it all, right?
what do
And
you,
then what?
okay? What do you think? What's planning money to the company?
I thought he was a customer.
Yes, he's a customer. So what does customer do? He needs a service. We're providing him a service. Who's providing the service for him? our company, we do it all, but company's company is an individual providing that service. So Pinchas Tadris is the employee. He's being delegated the job of doing web design for Pinchas Tadris for plenty of money.
Okay, I hear you. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. So let's see, it's going to create invoice. This part is going to create the invoice for plenty of money. It's going to show us 5 different hours. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is being pulled in from the sheet that the timesheet that Pinchas Tadris did. What we're going to do is we're going to take off one of the hours. Take off the last line. You can do right click, delete line probably. Delete line. And then we make a bill for $300. Save and close. Watch how with the income tracker. Oh, so here it says here print later. You have marked this one to be emailed. To add this to the message, people, your company email address. So they're going to want an email address from the company and email address for the customer. I didn't actually, I said print, I didn't say email, so I don't know why they're giving me that error. We do info@wedoit.com, Poloni@almoni.com. Okay, so the company's email address is info@wedoitall.com. The customer's email address is poloni@almoni.com. I'm not exactly sure right yet why it says they're asking for this information because they assume we want it emailed, but it doesn't say emailed yet. Okay, save and close. Now what's going to happen is, oh, I'm not using Outlook. If you choose not to create a profile, you continue as QuickBooks email. No, the answer is no. Okay, look what happened all of a sudden. We have now plenty of money invoice for $300. It wasn't sent yet, but there's still $75 remaining that we could create into an invoice. Okay, so what we did was we took the 375, we made, now there's a date. Today's 12/21. That was a mistake. It's supposed to be, let's say 5/31. Right after Shavuos, we came to the office on Monday, we sent an invoice. Okay, so again, the invoice is 5/31. For plenty of money, it's a $300. There's still $75 left, and that's why there's no what's it called? There's no due date. The reason why there's no due date by Rabbi Cohen is because it's not an invoice. It was the received payment for the invoice. But now, if you go back to the P&L, we will see the extra $300 of income. Now we moved up from 2510 to 2810. Okay, so all we proved from the income tracker is that when our employee gives us a timesheet, we need to go and actually bill the customer in order to recognize the income. Now, if I was in cash method, our income will fly down to close to half it, to $1,500 to $1,600. Right now, we're 34 because we're counting all the invoices. To actually do a check, that we're going to do in the next class. We're going to create the check for Pinchas Tadris, and we're going to create another employee, Dr. Fishbein, and then there's also going to be a Mrs. Fine that we're going to create. I'm going to see it over here. But we basically did step 9, which is we made the invoice for 4 sessions, and it says notice how plenty money goes to the most recent invoice of 300, etc. And actually, we even did number 10. So we did steps 1 through 10. Anyone have questions? Let's go to the questions. And In the following class, we're gonna do a poll. We're gonna bring in some of the questions that we did for review. We're gonna give you a little more time. We're gonna do about eight questions a class. Depending on, you can study the first 15 questions till Wednesday. It wasn't given actually beginning of Hanukkah. We got it now, Matzah Shabbos. So look over the 15 questions. That would be guess number 11 through 26. I also mentioned you didn't learn about time. We did a timesheet for multiple hours, but if someone was only doing one activity, you could actually use what's called a timer, and that was an enter time with a single activity. And here you have a timer where you can time yourself. So this will conclude. Again, I ran this step, but again, what did we just do? We did employees. We did first a timesheet. That was Pinchas Tadrus. That was for a bunch of days. Or if someone's in the office working for a customer, one time you could stick on a timer. You can enter manually. Over here, you could put in the name of an employee. You could put in the customer, Ploni Amoni. So that's another way. You don't have to use a whole timesheet because you're not putting, you can have a company where Pinchas Tadrus works for 5 days for 10 different customers, right? He does a 10-hour shift or an 8-hour shift, working a half an hour for some people for 1 hour, some people for half an hour. And then it gets complicated. You need a timesheet to keep track. He worked over a week, he worked 40, 50 hours and just to bill for this. That's why you have a timesheet. But if it's one customer, you could just go into a single activity, put in a date, if it was whatever it was, the employee, the customer, the service item, and you could either put in the timer, right? Yeah, and they have here payroll item, PRH, all these things that you see in the timesheet, you would see here also. And then we'll transfer the time, right? You have a duration. You could actually stop this whole thing here. I can enter 1 hour, right? I'm gonna enter 1 hour, and I will press save and close. And if right, like you have to have a name, an activity, you have to have a customer, but this will be the same effect of a timesheet for one session. Okay, I hope most of you understood how you get the invoice. I'm not sure whose question this is, P. If you want to, we could, to create the invoices from the time and expenses, we did that in the income tracker. How is the income tracker? Customers, right? As opposed to selling someone something, Control I, and you create an invoice, we transferred the information through the income tracker, and we have here the billable time and expenses, and we select create invoice. Okay, how did we create the $300 invoice? We do create invoice. We'll bring you 5 lines. Those 5 lines are an hour each, based on the 5 sessions that Pinchas Tadrus did for Ploni Amoni, and we deleted 1 line by right-clicking the line. Okay, again, create invoice, right-click any one of those lines, and it's going to change the bill to $300. And you'll have here the invoice for $300 and the $75 waiting to be invoiced. So I just redid that part. Who's this? How do you get to this page? What is this page now that I'm not sure what they're referring to? The $300 is not paid yet. No, it was only invoiced. Now we could receive payments if it was going to pay. And that's actually going to be a different time to receive the money. Oh, no choice. Okay, invoice. I asked people before, could you make sure, and if this solves your issue, when you go to the employee center, the payroll item, right? Again, payroll info, make sure use time data to create paychecks. This might, I noticed for sure with paychecks, this might also be linked to the question of creating invoice. I don't think so, but it might, because it says to use time data to create paychecks. How do you have 150 open plenty? Perhaps you only created invoice. Oh, so probably you had 6 sessions in your timesheet. If you have 300 billed and 150, so you go back and you'll have to you'll delete one of them. Okay. Okay, I'm glad to see Shimon got this whole thing fixed without me. How do you do timesheets again? Well, I'll walk you through in a second on through the questions. So this is the last thing for Pete. Again, the income tracker on the time of expense, you might have create invoice, choose billable, or create invoice. I believe if not, we're gonna have to troubleshoot your step by step through the Q&A. In the meantime, okay, Moshe, you had a question about the timesheets?
Yeah, because I didn't have before the payroll item.
Okay, so
So you do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, an hour?
what I did actually was I did Sunday from the week.
I have from May 18 to May 24.
Yeah, what you do? You did the 1 hour at the last day on Sunday?
Oh, I should do 1 hour on Sunday also?
Only Sunday.
Oh, not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
Well, the week starting the 18th, he was only hired on the 22nd. How could he work
Oh,
before he was
okay.
hired?
Okay, fine. So save and new.
Okay, so
And-
so he did 1 hour on the 22nd.
Right.
No, I'm sorry. No, sorry. He was hired on 22nd. He did the hour on the 24th. The 24th is a Sunday, so it's the last day of the timesheet of the week starting the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
The week starts the 18th. The last day of that timesheet is 24. It's a Sunday. That's the day he worked. Then you go to the next timesheet,
Right.
and you select the 25, and you put in the 25, 26, 27, 28. That's, yes, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Correct. So you have
That's Plony, Almoni. And the service item is
the
WD.
WD. Yeah, it's,
One. Till Thursday, right?
through Thursday. So that's 4 more. Yeah.
Okay. And then you showed something about by the invoices.
Oh, so you have to be in the income tracker to create the invoice.
My income tracker, I don't think matches.
If you go to the customers, drop down.
450. Why do I have 450?
Okay, because you put 6. Wait, you already have 450? So
No, I have now 450.
by time and expense.
Yeah.
Go back to timesheet. You probably put in 5 days of the week instead of. You probably put in Friday because you thought you did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And
Because I did Friday from the other one, and then
no, Sunday. You did Sunday's
oh,
last day.
Sunday from the other one, right?
Yeah.
So how do I go back now?
You just select the timesheet. Click the
Window,
date. 18.
timesheets.
If you're in the employees at timesheets. And
Payroll time, you click
go back.
timesheets. Okay, so the previous I have. 1 minute, why can't I see previous?
Those are you have to collect the date, the timesheet. You have the 18th.
Oh, okay, 1 minute. So let me do
Now, by me, it's not billable anymore because I already
May 18.
May 18th to 24, yeah.
Okay, I did that already, but why do I have 450 instead of
Now,
375?
wait, now look at this. Take Pinchas Tadris's timesheet. You have to select the Pinchas Tadris. How many, what's your total hours in that week?
Because I put in for Monday, I put in an hour.
Which one, for the 18th?
For the 18th, yeah.
So cut it out, take it out, no
I
change.
just put in for Sunday an hour.
Yeah, which is the last day of the week, right?
Okay, and
So now
then
you have, right?
yeah.
It's-
and then I should have 4 hours the next week.
yeah, well, it's automatic. If it was 450, you took out a Monday, it's back to 375.
Right, okay,
Except
fine.
for
And then you
that,
said something by invoices to change it.
No, what is the change?
By
Oh,
income
I see. Okay, so I said in the income tracker, for everyone who was following along, I'm sorry for confusing you, but this is, I could have made the invoice of everything. I just split it. I said, select, create invoice,
Mhm.
and you should have 5 lines here coming up. I have 1 because I created invoice of 4. You have 5 lines now, right?
Okay,
So you right click one of those lines and delete it.
1 minute. No, I don't have it. 1 minute.
Yeah.
Yes.
On the time expense line, where there's no date.
Okay, I double click on that.
No, you have to go to the action. There's an action column.
Oh, okay. Select create
Select
invoice.
create invoice. It will bring you up for Ploni
And
Amoni.
then I delete the last
And
one.
by the way, the same thing would be if Pinchas Tadris worked for Ploni Amoni and you had a few people working for Ploni Amoni, you would now merge all those services to this customer.
I do save a new.
No. 1 second. You have it open. What's your invoice going to be? What's your total before you save
It
it?
was 375, and you deleted the last one.
Okay, anyone, whatever your line. Fine, save it. Save and close.
And
You're gonna,
then you just do okay.
save and close are okay, and you'll end up back at income tracker. You'll see now it's
But
split.
why do I have to enter email?
I don't know why. I can't. I didn't see why it was asking for me. I
Did you
didn't
do
have.
cancel, save, and close?
So
But it doesn't let me do it.
put in the fake email. Put it. I showed you what to do. info@wedoitall.com. Put the ploni@almoni.com just to satisfy that window.
Okay, now now it's fine.
Yeah. Well, you tell me if it's fine. You're back at
No,
income tracker.
now it's
Your income tracker. Do you see now a bill for $300 for Ploni Amoni and still
yeah, it's pending.
and 75 unbilled?
Mm-hmm.
Good. So you did that.
But the date is 12/21. I should leave
I
that
said
date.
not. I double click. I told you go dated 5/31.
Oh,
5/31, May 31st. That was the.
okay.
That
Now I
was,
have one more question.
1 second. Now I can tell you if you go now to your P&L, your it should move up.
That's my next
The show
question.
service now is 2810,
Hold on, just a minute.
and this should answer the other
No,
person.
my service is 2880 because I didn't have the 2510 that you said
1
about
second. Okay, because you're probably showing all by dates all. You have to put only this current year.
this
Press
year, this fiscal year,
this fiscal year, and if it shows 2880, it's impossible.
2810.
Yeah, it's impossible. You just got my file. We didn't do anything else. It has to be. Yeah,
So I should have 2810 for service.
exactly. Yeah, it was 2510 before. Now you made an invoice for 300.
300, so it's
That's
2810.
2810, and if you would create another invoice for 75, it'd be 2890.
So I should do the invoice of 25.
No, this invoice is 75 available to be made.
Oh.
I was just demonstrating that the fact that your employee worked for the customer doesn't tell QuickBooks that you earned the money yet until you make the invoice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's all I was trying to demonstrate.
So the total income is supposed to be 3465.
3465, yeah.
Okay.
Right. So until you actually make the invoice, QuickBooks won't register the income based off a timesheet. And then I did a step further. I took that 375 and I split it, and I showed you how it moves up 300, but doesn't move up the whole 375 because we didn't invoice 375.
Mhm.
That's what I was demonstrating.
Mhm.
Next time we're gonna do the other side. Now we're gonna pay next class Pinchas Tadris for his work, and then we're just gonna create a couple other employees and pay them.
Mhm. Okay,
All right.
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good night.
All right. Okay. Hi, Dove.
I was doing interesting. I charged Pinchas Tadris for for 5 hours. I have an invoice for 300, but I'm still having 150 that's open.
Yeah. So I just finished with like probably you accidentally created a timesheet for 6 different units, not for 5 units. So you go back
No,
to
I
your time,
double checked. I double checked my
or for a different day. Maybe the question is where you have hiding a timesheet. You look at this week's timesheet. Maybe you start off with a timesheet based on this week. Those invoices were in the income tracker, which is
yeah.
450, 375. It only comes with a timesheet. That's how the money comes. In other words, what gives me the right to bill Pinchas Tadris any money, Plenty of money, any money?
Okay.
It's because we did work for him. So the fact that if we entered 5 units, will give me the right to bill him for 375. If your QuickBooks is letting you bill him for 450, it means you somehow put in 6 units. Maybe in those 2 weeks you only put in 1 and 4, but you might have, like I said, you could. That would be the first thing. Check in the timesheets for this week.
Checked. It's empty.
So I thought we could go employees. The job. Unbilled cost by job. Let's see.
Reports.
Let's see. No, not unbilled cost. Not cost. Job. Yeah, time by job detail. For all. Okay, this is what you should do. Reports.
Yeah.
Jobs.
Yeah.
Time by job
Detail.
I'll give you a list of all the days. This is where the timesheet comes up. And I'll show you how I billed for 4 and I didn't bill for 1. This is an interesting
Yeah.
report. Now,
Very interesting.
What?
Because I have 3 billed and 2 unbilled. How do I get to 300?
Oh, because maybe one date you put in the 2, maybe it could be. That's what happened. Maybe one of your dates you put a 2.
I don't have everything is 1. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28.
What's your total amounts? 5 hours?
5 hours, yeah.
So maybe your invoice is actually for 225, not for 300.
It says 300.
It's so she. One second. It is interesting. I mean, though, if I can help you, you want to. 1 second here. You want to try to share your screen? I could unshare my screen.
I'm on a different computer.
Okay, fine. So I can't. I'm showing you how to look at the reports. More than that, I can't do unless I'm seeing what's in by you. So. And you did all, by the way, or which period did you do in this
Dates
report?
All.
So you have 5 units.
Actually says 24 and 28 are unpaid, unbilled.
Well, how much?
25, 524 and 528 is unbilled. So when I check on the income tracker,
and what is billed? So 24 and 28 is not billed.
Yeah.
What is billed?
25, 26, and 27.
That's 3 days.
Okay.
And there's a 1 next to each one, right?
Yeah.
And in your income tracker, let's just double check this here. There's Yankel Chaim is 225 and Plenty of Money is 300. That's what you have.
Yeah.
Okay, double click on it. What does it say there?
About plenty of money.
Yeah, on the invoice.
Says I have for I'm for one for I'm
Quantity for them. WD.
yeah for WD.
I can't figure that right now. Not sure. If you have this window over here, it shows you open balance 300, unbilled times 70, 150, right?
Yeah.
This one right here.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll figure it out and you'll tell me what it was.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mm. Let's see who else has a question here.
Okay,
Mhm.
so I'm by the invoice and I'm showing that he has 5 hours, Ploni Almoni, right? And
We only invoiced for them. We invoiced for $300. So we deleted one. We right click and we delete one.
why is that?
Why not? I'm bored. I was showing everyone how, like I said, just because we did the work for the customer, we don't have the income in our profit and loss report until we actually bill them. So I showed you first by just the fact we did a timesheet. I did it one step further. I billed out 4 of those 5 sessions. And I show how the income went up by $300 because of the 4 that we billed. And the 5th session is still unbilled. I'm just trying to give you another angle of how.
Deleted one. Okay, so we deleted one, we
Yeah.
had 300. So then I went to save and new, and it tells me to put in emails.
Email, okay, so put a fake email
I
address.
put in anything, whatever, and then it doesn't let me go on.
You need 2 email. You need 2 email
It's
addresses.
not a good email.
No, the top one and the bottom. You need to put 2 email addresses.
I did.
One is your company and one is the guy.
I did. So I just did doitall.com and the other one was
Well,
plone.com.
wait. No, not website. Email. An email means something at something.
Right. Oh, I see.
Yeah, you put a website.
Uh-huh. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, and the other one is, okay, 1 second. Okay, it tells me again, the from email address is invalid.
Okay, what you probably didn't put at. You put a
did.
period. You put a comma.
No, I did. We do it at HH. Okay, I should do .com.
You need a .com or .net or something. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. And the second one also.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to create a profile for Outlook?
No, just no.
No, okay. And then save and what? Save and close?
Save and close. And you come back into your income tracker.
Okay, which was again where? By customer, where is it? By customer?
Yeah, customers and drop down, yeah.
Okay, income tracker. Okay.
And you should see now that you have your Ploni Amoni has an invoice, like a date and a due date for 300. And then on the bottom still has time of expense, 75.
Right, yes, a pending, right, okay, an open, right, and then a 75, right, okay.
Okay. And if you want, you can also look in your P&L and you'll see how your income for the year went up. Not by the
How do you
375.
check again the P&L by
Reports, company
window?
reports, company, profit and loss standard.
Standard. Okay. Okay, and what should I see?
That your service income now is 2810.
Nope. Something is wrong then.
There's nothing to be wrong. You have to check
One
the,
second, the date,
this
December
yeah
1 to
this fiscal
21.
year. This fiscal year. Go this fiscal year.
Okay, that's what it is. Okay.
You didn't enter anything other than adding $300. You got a new file.
Right.
So
But
that's
how
the
much
that's
did
the purpose. I at some point midway I give you a file now, regardless of what all the mistakes people did in the first couple of weeks. Right now the numbers have to match.
Right. So the total income should be 3465.25.
Nothing changed. The thing is the service. The service was 2510. Now it's 2810. But yeah.
Surface is 2810, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then everything's good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see. Anyone else have a question here? Okay. Do we have anyone else here who has a question? That's cool. Otherwise, we're going to start on Wednesday from step number 11, which is to create payroll check. Oh, it says right here, 6.5. Yeah. Thank you very much for joining. Have a wonderful evening.